so I'm based in the Vale of Glamorgan in South Wales. It's lovely. I'm right by the sea. So I'm a counsellor. I also supervise other counsellors and other supervisors. Over the years, there's been lots of sleep issues that my clients have had. So we've sort of worked together to explore those and come up with solutions and things like that, because we find that if you're sleeping well at night, things don't seem so bad in the day. You're more able to cope in the day. So I'll bring up my slides. Oops. Let's see the first slide. Okay. Okay, so sleeping well for being active. An active day starts with a restful sleep. Okay, so sleep, the science. What exactly is sleep? So sleep is altered consciousness, our eyes close, muscles relax, we're less responsive to stimuli. We get rapid eye movement, which accompanies our dreaming, and we're virtually paralysed whilst asleep. It stops us sort of flailing around, you know, and falling out of bed, that kind of thing. So we enter that stage of virtual paralysis. Okay, so why do we need sleep? So sleep is still the subject of ongoing research in sleep laboratories, and it still remains a bit of a mystery. We're vulnerable whilst we sleep, and therefore any benefits of sleep, they must be quite great to therefore outweigh the risk of sleep. So we know that our various bodily systems undergo repair when we're asleep. So our nervous system, endocrine, skeletal, muscular systems, they all undergo repair. They also undergo repair whilst we're awake, usually whilst we're resting, you know, sitting down, that kind of thing. But the greatest repair happens whilst we're actually asleep. So especially if you've got that uninterrupted sleep for several hours, that's when the greatest repairs take place. So the impact on our brain, the greatest impact is on our brain. So it's the brain actually resets itself while we sleep. So things like learning, memory, decision-making, prioritizing, regulating our emotions, that's what has the greatest impact whilst we sleep. So if we are deprived of sleep, especially if it goes on for a long stretch of time, we can develop symptoms that are akin to ADHD, that kind of thing, because all of those things, learning, memory, decision-making, etc., are all things that are impacted by that sort of neurodivergence. So we can appear to have something like that. So sleep is really, really important on the brain. So common sleep issues that my clients encounter. So things like interrupted sleep. So some people sleep very lightly, so any little noise might wake them. And then frequent wakings for extended periods. So interrupted sleep and then not being able to get back to sleep is another common one. Okay, and then those sleep issues, they interfere with our daytime activities. So perhaps, you know, we're less active because we're tired, because we haven't slept, and then that leads to a bit of a vicious circle, because then perhaps we rest in the day, and then perhaps when it's bedtime, you know, we're not as tired as we could be because we've had that rest in the day. Okay, so the effect of the seasons on our sleep. So sleep habits may change according to the seasons, and the seasons can affect our body clock or our rhythm. Things like, you know, the clocks going forward or backwards can have an impact on our sleep and our waking. I once worked with a professor that told me that to get the first hour of daylight, to walk outside for the first hour of daylight and also the last hour of daylight. So for example, when the clocks go forward or back, that's a really quick win way of adjusting quickly. is to grab that first and last hour. So it takes some organising, doesn't it, to be able to do that. But that's a really good tip. Okay, so my top tips for a good night's sleep, some minor changes, if you can manage them, might be worthwhile as an investment in your well-being in terms of the impact that restorative sleep gives us on our day. And notice just how much more productive you can be after a good night's sleep. And then that creates a virtuous circle, because when you've had a good night's sleep, you're more likely to be more active in the day, get more done, be more productive, have a busier day. And then, of course, you're ready for another restful sleep. I know when you're caring, you don't always have, an interrupted sleep, because that's dependent on whether the person you're caring for is, also able to sleep well, or whether they need assistance at night, which lots of people do, don't they? Okay, so sleep environment is really important. So we're talking about the room in which you sleep, usually your bedroom, if possible, keeping that one room just for sleep and having that calming environment. So a comfortable mattress is quite important. So if you've got lumps and bumps in your mattress, or it's very old, that might not be conducive to a good night's sleep. Bedding and nightwear, usually natural fibres are best, because they keep you warm in the winter and cooler in the summer. And sometimes it's nice to have really nice, fresh, clean bedding. Into a nice, fresh, clean bed. That always helps with a good night's sleep. Weighted blankets. Now, some people who are neurodivergent use a weighted blanket, and they're really comforting. They feel like a hug. Some people like them, some people don't. If anyone's interested, what I would say is don't pay a lot for them. They can go up to hundreds of pounds, and you don't need to spend that much. You can get them really cheaply. So if anyone's interested, I can point you in the right direction to find one that's really not very expensive at all. Temperature in the room. Obviously, you don't want to be too hot and you don't want to be too cold either. So it's finding the right temperature. Some people find cozy socks, keep their feet warm, which helps them to sleep. I talked earlier about people waking in the night due to noise, song, things like that in the mornings, early mornings. Some people use a white noise machine, or have an app on their phone that plays white noise. So you can get all kinds of noises, like you can get rain sounds, running sounds, that kind of thing. So that's quite helpful. And what it does, it masks any sudden noises that might happen otherwise. What we say is try and keep the room dark. So you might have blackout blinds, or if you don't, you can use a sleep mask, and it just blocks out all of the light. What that means is that your body, in response to the darkness, produces the sleep hormone more easily, called melatonin. So if you block out the light and it's really dark in your room where you wear a sleep mask, your body is much more easily to release melatonin, and you're more easily able to sleep once that's released. Okay, so what we recommend, and especially for my clients, is having something by the side of your bed. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can just be a sheet of paper or a pad of paper, or a journal, and a pen, obviously, and then just jotting down anything that worries you or is playing on your mind, things that you have to remember to do, that kind of thing. If you jot them down before you try to sleep, you can sort of put them to bed as well, just for the night. They're looked after for the night, and you're not having to try to hold them. So that's a tip that some people find quite useful, not to want to add to your day. Some people also, whilst they're doing that, write 3 things they're grateful for. So like a gratitude journal. And that is scientifically proven to help with relaxation and things like that. So it can be something really simple, like 3 things I'm grateful for. I don't know, my cat, a nice cup of hot chocolate, and a warm bed, you know, anything like that. And some people just call to mind 3 things whilst they're writing down their journal at night. Okay, so what we say is keep the bed in the bedroom just for sleeping in wherever possible. So for example, you know, if you like to read crosswords, things like that, maybe don't do them in the bedroom, do them before you go up to bed. Maybe even do your journal before you go up to the bedroom, just so that that sleep association is there. You get into bed and you have an association of sleep with that room rather than anything else, like you know, doing crosswords, perhaps scrolling on your phone, things like that. Maybe keep your phone out of the bedroom if possible. I know it's not always possible because, you know, you're caring and you need to be contactable. So if following a night waking you can't immediately get back to sleep, it's probably best to get out of bed, leave the room and do something else. Again, so that you don't have that association of laying awake. You know, you have that association of good quality sleep. So try something else maybe. Okay, so your day is important too. So perhaps keep as active as possible mentally and physically, or even a combination of the two. Get some fresh air and exercise if you can. However, don't exercise close to your preferred bedtime or sleep time, because that can sort of, you know, that can get your heart racing and things like that. And you want to be winding down at bedtime and not, you know, not getting all those feel-good hormones going. So if you can get out and about, and I know not everybody can, but if you can, trees are relaxing to be around. I live near a forest, which I'm really lucky. So they help with relaxation, mood and sleep. Again, the sea, I live near the sea. That is really relaxing, watching the waves and everything and having a walk down to the sea. If you aim to sleep all night, try to power through the day without a nap if possible. Although some people do say having a nap in the day relaxes them enough to then be able to sleep at night. So it's a bit trial and error with things like that. So, but generally speaking, you know, try and power through if you can, so that you're nice and relaxed and tired, you know, at bedtime. Sometimes going to bed a little later can help with deeper and less interrupted sleep. So, you know, some people are tired and they say, oh, I'm going to have an early night. But then they have the early night and that leads to frequent wakings because they weren't perhaps tired enough. So sometimes you can experiment with the timing of your bedtime just to see if going to bed a little bit later makes you more tired and therefore able to sleep through the night rather than those frequent like 3 a.m. wake-ups. Okay, and what I always say is wait until you feel sleepy or drowsy before getting into bed. One of my clients came up with a plan of getting ready for bed earlier in the evening so that she was all ready. So she'd done her teeth, she was in her pajamas, everything was done, her bedtime routine was done before she felt sleepy. Because when you go up and brush your teeth and everything, especially if you've got a really minty toothpaste, that can sort of invigorate you and wake you back up again. So that's a little tip, is to get all that done earlier on before you get sleepy. And when you feel sleepy or you feel drowsy, then that's the time to slope up to bed and snuggle down. Part of your bedtime routine might involve a bath with Epsom salts or magnesium flakes or lavender oil, something like that. If you don't have a bath in the home, you can soak your feet in a bowl, you know, with those things. Obviously, you'd have to use less proportionately, but that might be something to try. Okay, so foods can really help with aiding sleep. So soporific foods, they're sleep-inducing foods. I love the word soporific. So for a light supper, any food containing calcium, so for example, yogurt or blocks of cheese, also eggs, I don't think they're a dairy product, but they contain an amino acid, and that can make you feel relaxed and sleepy. Cherries or cherry juice, they contain melatonin, the one I talked about when the room is dark. It's produced, that's the sleep hormone. To get hold of cherry juice, the only place I found it, apart from online, is in Morrison's. They're not, for some reason, supermarkets don't stock it. Bananas, they contain potassium, and that can help you to stay asleep. So if your problem is staying asleep and frequent night wakings, maybe a banana at bedtime or a banana by the side of the bed in case you wake up, and then you can have that as a little bedtime snack if you don't want to feel hungry at night either. Okay, so if you enjoy foods and drinks that contain caffeine, just be mindful that these can affect your sleep, and they can also wake you during the night as they stimulate the bladder. So you can, oh, and the other thing is herbal teas also contain caffeine, so things like green tea. People aren't aware of that generally. They associate them with health and well-being, but they do, some of them do contain quite a bit of caffeine, ginseng, things like that. So always look for caffeine-free. So you can get caffeine-free tea bags and coffee. And then if you're having the herbal, like chamomile and things like that, just check that it doesn't contain caffeine, because some of them do. Rather than relax you, then they'll start stimulating you and make you have to get up in the night to use the loo as well, because they stimulate the bladder as well as your brain. Okay, so meditation. I don't know whether anyone practices this already, but you can get guided sleep meditations online. I don't recommend any particular ones because everyone's different and everyone connects differently with different ones. So you need to experiment until you find one that you actually connect with. You can find, I think I mentioned earlier, you can find rain sounds, thunder sounds, running rivers, waves. The City at Night one I tried. Now, City at Night doesn't sound very relaxing, but they're muted sounds. So they're sort of distant sounds and they are quite relaxing, actually. And then you could also look at the 4-7-8 breathing technique. I think I've got a walkthrough on my counselling website as well. That is really good, really relaxing, brings down your blood pressure, your pulse, your heart rate, things like that. I think war veterans use them as well. It's something that's taught to them. And that can send you asleep in seconds, apparently. So you might want to try that one. I thought it'd be fun to ask friends and family for their top tips on sleeping. This is not scientific at all. This is just what they've come up with. So my one friend, she redecorates her house when she's trying to sleep, and she'll think about friends and relatives' houses and walk through and decorate those in her mind's eye. And she says that's really relaxing and sends her straight off to sleep. And I have tried it and it does work for me too. So it might be something to try. And then ASMR. You can look that up on YouTube, and that's it sounds quite bizarre actually. It's different sounds, so it can be somebody gently screwing up a crisp packet, an empty crisp packet, or be somebody doing an unboxing of something that they've bought, and the sounds, it could be somebody whispering or speaking in a calming, gentle voice. And it's sort of, not everyone can get the benefits of this, but if you do, what it does, it starts like a little chain reaction. So you'll feel like a tingling in your scalp, and it'll go all down your spine and make you feel really relaxed. So that's another thing you can look up and try. And then the body scan practice. So what you do when you're relaxing in bed, if you can't sleep, you sort of become aware of each part of your body in turn, and you can tense it up and then relax it. Yeah, so that's another thing you could experiment with, the body scan practice.